And my good friend here, Mark McNees, one of the first guys I ever met. What was his name? We went to Madison.
Yeah, we could have out
Yeah.
together. And you wanted to get lobster rolls.
Oh, I really love it. Well,
These were first lobster rolls. They were
really,
new.
and anyway, we're going to learn about his story, his entrepreneurial story today, and I just looking forward to. I will learn a little more. I know a lot about it, and I know there's a lot I don't know, and I look forward to the students to be able to hear about it as well. So thank you so much for taking your time to come here and join us.
I'm excited to be here. We're starting to Peerless and campus. So you guys live in paradise compared to the main campus at LSU, or not on my car, like looking at the water. And then Brian's showing me a video of them commuting to work in his boat. I'm like, wait. How do I sign up for that?
I know we had tried to work it out where you were going to come over the day before we didn't happen. So next time you'll be coming by boat.
Yes, I was really looking forward to it, and I appreciate your generosity. Yeah, we've had some trouble last week, or you probably all know.
That's right. Well, let's dive in. Let's talk about some of your as a childhood. I know you really had kind of that entrepreneurial bug from about 10 years old.
Yeah, and I started my first company when I was 10 years old. When I was 10 years old, video games were starting to come online. There was a system called Atari. I've seen you guys wear the shirts. I don't think you probably haven't even here when I is. Yeah, it was a little very basic video game. It was interesting because all of our parents, how they thought of games is like you bought a Monopoly and then you just played it for the rest of your life, right? And there was no beating the game. So what was normal was parents would buy the console and then one game, and they're like, they're done. So, and the games again were really, really basic. And I saw a problem my friends were having was they were beating the games, but the parents didn't want to spend whatever the $30 or at the time, which was really expensive at the time, to buy another game. I knew what I was going to do is about start borrowing my games with my friends and start swapping them and start having a bunch of games, and then people asked me to borrow those games. I'm the greatest ethics when I was 10 years old. When I started renting my friends' games at 25 cents a day. And then I started buying games off my friends and stuff like that. It actually grew to a point where I wasn't carrying books to class anymore. Man, was full of games, and that's all I was doing. And then the administration found out, and they shut my first business down. It was my first experience with the government regulations shutting my business down. And so entrepreneurship was not smiled upon when I was 10 years old, but that was my first, I did that as like my first legit business where I identified a problem and that people were having, and I monetized.
That's awesome. Well, what did your parents say about that?
My parents loved it. My dad's one of the greatest entrepreneurs I know. And that was absolutely amazing. And I wasn't a great student anyways, so they were like, well, he's doing something. So my parents were very supportive.
That's awesome. Well, so take us through high school, any other ventures in high school, and what ended up majoring in college.
Go ahead. It didn't say all in high school where I'm going to talk about that business. I haven't had a bit in college. I had lots of opportunity hustles along the way. There, do you remember that you have stalls?
I didn't have them, but I do know what they are.
Okay, well that was one. Gosh, I must have been 13 or 14, and the cabbage stall craze happened, and nobody could get Cabbage Patch dolls. And my brother, my own brother, was working at Toys R Us at the time, so he would call when the shipping came in, and I would get my mom to drive me to Toys R Us, and I would buy him all the Cabbage Patch dolls, and then I would take ads out in the local paper that I had cabbage patch skulls, and I was buying them for like, I don't remember exactly, but it was basically like $40, and I was selling them for like $80. And I sold about 30 or 40 that December.
That's all that paid for all the Christmas presents, right?
Oh, really? I don't know. I like video and focus on it. I think back to like in arcades and everything and all the quarters I both like. I was good.
Well, it's fun that you're in
As a kid, but I wasn't very like financially conservative, I guess. He would come in and he would go right back down.
Gotcha. Well, when you went to college, did you major in business or entrepreneurship? And what
It was originally I went to the Bachelor Institute of Design and Merchandising in downtown LA. I wanted to be a buyer for habit stores and things like that. And after being in that culture for a couple of years, it wasn't really what I thought I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So then I went to a small liberal arts college in Burbank, California called Woodbury. And I got my bachelor's of science in marketing, and I got a minor in finance, which that minor in finance is the best thing I've ever gotten. It really set me up. I use that and use it for the rest of what I learned in those classes. I always tell students if you're getting in a minor, especially if you're an entrepreneurship major or a business major or something like that, finance is a great secondary degree. Yeah, and so I did that. Yeah, I got a couple masters and my doctorate later. But yeah, I met a lot of great people. We probably like the best opportunity hustle that I did was with a friend in college. Did you never Lost to Be Honest?
I do.
When they first came out, couldn't get and in California, it was so hot. So we said we quickly hands out that we had new Lost to Be Honest. We didn't have new Lost to Be Honest, but we knew that we could get from Nevada, from Las Vegas. And so basically, we were going to Nevada and getting Lost to Be Honest. Basically, they would buy them and we would drive them.
You got a fee for doing?
Yeah, a couple grand. Yes.
That's all. That was why you were in school.
All right.
That's fantastic. All right. So, you graduated. Did you work for somebody, or did you start a business to run everything?
I went to like dad's business. I went to work for my dad's business. He had heavy equipment rental business. And I went to work for that in Long Beach, California. So basically, I was third generation rental. My grandfather actually started the U-Haul concept in California. He had a rental yard. He would build his own trailers, and people would come by all the time and ask if they could rent his trailer. So he started making trailers, and that became his main business, was renting trailers to the whole U-Haul concept. And he was the trailers blazer on that. In fact, one office I have inherited me from like 1936 or something, with him calling it like the Trailblazer trailer.
I bet he loved to see you rent those video games.
Unfortunately, he also was about 350 pounds and he died when I was, so I never got to really know.
He would have liked that. You know, that was in your blood. I can see.
Yeah, kind of. So, like, by blood, my dad started a really great business, and then he retired, and I was able that business. They did 5X, and then we sold. And that's when I moved to Florida.
Let's take a quick detour here. You brought up something about your in-law and his health and such, and I know you stayed in really good shape. And so, how has taking care of your body been something that you push to the front? Is that something you've always done, or talk about that? Because that's more for people they have their own business and they're trying to work right. And when do you carve out time to care for yourself?
Yeah, My grandfather died when I was 2 was a big thing. My dad was really heavy when I was 2 years old, and when his dad died, my grandfather was a huge wake-up call for my dad. He got really in just taking care of his body and right and things like that. I've always really been in working out, you know, like I've struggled with anxiety and depression my whole life, and I found just eating really clean and, you know, being outside and being really has been a real huge positive in my life. And it's kind of funny and just eating kind of fit. I'm 55 years old and be my whole life and everything. You know, like I have friends who have had friends that you know 20. So and I would obviously hurt myself on the line. We were just talking about losing teeth, serving again and doing stuff outside. And I mean, they're all like, you know, Mark, you know, you're always getting hurt. You know, you gotta slow down. You know, you're just pushing your body too hard and stuff like that. Well, those guys know a lot of them, like one just had to retire because of health is, you know, and all of these different things. And I think ultimately, like being fit is being great. And then I think especially I appreciate, like I was invited to try out for an FFU's beach volleyball club this semester, and I'm on out there at 55 years old, and a bunch of 20-year-olds that are aligned. And you know, so I made tea. It was funny the other day. We were on in tournament, and I decided I'm going to be part of the team. I'm not going to like. I'm just going to hang out, like, and go and do stuff. And we were going down south of St. Pete from Tallahassee, and like they're like, "Mark McNees, you know, you're a big Tyler and everything." Tyler has his Honda Civic, and Tyler's like, "All right, you're at the back," you know, and I'm like, so I'm like 5 hours in the back of a little Civic, and then we get down there about 10:30 at night to this one star hotel, and like people standing outside with their 40 ounces and everything, and I'm like, oh gosh. Then we get into the room, they have air mattresses set up, and there's like 8 guys in this room, and I'm like laying out, and I'm just like, what choices in life? What meaning? Well, it's fun. It's great and everything, right? It's wild. I mean, you know, I spend most of my time, you know, 20 somethings, you know, at work and class and everything, and then you're traveling, you know, surfing. I'm thinking about a bunch of people that were going to surf in St. Augustine this weekend. They're like, you know, they just want to hang out. And I'm like, hey, let's go. You know, I'll rack up my board. So, you know,
That's fantastic. What a well, I would imagine the joy that just brings to your life above and beyond the other things that are kind of standard work stuff. You know, just that's great. So with you, I appreciate you sharing that about yourself. Okay, so we'll get back on the Entrepreneurial train now, and uh, you went to work with your family's business. You said you buy that. Okay, what roles did you have when you were working? And then what are the important things for students, or we have students here that are graduating now, right? And so what are some of those skills that are really important to develop as somebody that's just starting out too? There was a lot of questions in there. I'm sorry, but certainly where it was.
I've actually thought a lot about this, just had a career for so long, knowing a lot of like successful people and things like that. And honestly, the most successful people I know have prioritized two things. Uh, I don't know if I do this, but pay attention to this. I really believe it's the most successful people in like whatever, however you define success. They all prioritize a quality network. They all are great presenters. And not necessarily on stage, but just in a group, they can convey an idea in a state entertaining way. And every successful person, and I don't define success just by love, relationships, whatever, but those two things, quality of your network and how well can you present an idea. You can nail those two things. I think they're the great indicator of your future success.
That's awesome. I hope you guys, and we have some students here that are graduating, and one of the things that we do a lot of is presenting. And that's something that many students, when they come into the program, they have not done. It's just, they're not comfortable with it, but they do it so much. We do it over and over and over again, because that's something, that is a skill that if you don't learn it now, it's going to be really hard. You're not usually going to be given the opportunity to learn it later. If you're not, unless you're really intentional about it. So in the entrepreneurship program here at Florida State, we do a lot of presentations. And so just being able to articulate a concept, and they're in a cohort, like you're saying, they're in a cohort of people that are trying to make themselves better, right? And so hopefully that's setting the stage for those two things that you listed. We're setting the table here for them as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think in the College of Entrepreneurship at FSU, we prioritize a lot of new workers coming in. We encourage our students to go out with those networks and in an authentic, teaching them like you're not out there just to take, you're out there to give as well. And I think that, one thing I wish I knew at 20, like when I was 20, I didn't really go, what do I have to offer being a 5-year-old when it work is like there's so much. But with your 20, you have a lot of energy. You know the culture, the emerging culture a lot better. You have fresh ideas, and all of these things are extremely valuable. And I think people graduating maybe don't have a lot of businesses that they bought, sold, or whatever. What they do have, one of the critical things that cover is desperately need is energy, life, ideas, a cultural awareness.
That's awesome. That is so important. When you left the rental business, equipment rental business, what was the next step for you? And was that like a cash out, or did you work out progress with them, or what?
If I may, can I talk a little bit about what led up to?
Yeah, man.
Why yourself? So
Yeah.
I was the only person left in the family business. My parents had retired. My brother, he worked for us, but he was a helicopter pilot for the Army, and he wanted to be a commercial airline pilot. So he went and did that. My dream when I was young was, this is where I was when I was 20, and I wanted nephew. That was important. Uh, I thought that was the road to happiness. And I was working really hard, building this business. I was spending enormous amount of time traveling. I was spending enormous amount of time wine and dining clients and things like that. I was newly married, and I hadn't had that time, and I wasn't being a very good husband. In fact, one of the hardest conversations my wife and we've been married for 32 years with him, but one of the hardest conversations, just put your knees there. I was trying to have this kind of like heartfelt conversation with her, and she looked at me after I'm like, am I good at husband with you? She said, well, you're a good provider. Yeah. In the house. I think that conversation was just, she didn't mean it to be hurtful, as honest. But I was like, what? That's not, like, you're my soulmate. You're kind of like, I don't want to be, I want to be your provider, right? Shall we? I don't want to be, that's all I need. And that was so hard. I started kind of like questioning my kind of world, money equals whatever. And that's starting to erode. But I still wanted and everything. I was living at the beach, and I had a great bonus living, and I had the car, and I wanted to drive. It was great. Like buys a lot of fun things and like this. I remember in particular there was this really big deal that all the rental companies were trying to wrap it up. It's going to be the biggest deal of my life, because I'm content. I really want this. And I remember walking into a meeting, and somebody in the meeting said, "Oh, who's this?" When I walked in, and the guy who was running the meeting said, "Oh, he's just another rental."
Here.
And I was like, "Another, yeah." And I was like, "Oh." So I ended up getting that contract, beat out everybody. And I remember, and I was sitting in my car, and like I've neglected my family, my friends, horribly so, to make an extra dollar. And it's not going to change. If I didn't get it, somebody else would have. It was just, I mean, this is where I was at. And then it's like, I got make shit. And the more, and this is just my story. You can take it or leave it, but not what it is functioning atheist, basically. I didn't really think about like spiritual stuff at all. And I went on a journey just to like first acknowledge, like, do I have a soul? And I was a guest because that's what was really hard, right? And how I was living. I mean, it wasn't evil or bad or anything. That's just me, like, I really like at that point said, money's good, and I like money, but relationships are better, and being able to take care of people and let them take care of you is kind of where I transitioned, and that's what I wanted my life to be about. So I called my parents and I said, I think I want to sell the company, and there's a lot of stuff in the market going on. I think it was a really good time to sell. Uh, like United Rental, Sunbelt, these really large rental companies were buying up little companies like ours at that time. And I said, I can't see doing this for the rest of my life. It's good. I liked it. And it was weird because I was my parents retired, right? So
You were their retirement.
right.
And then you come that you were bringing in through the family business, from their generation family business, and you were their retirement. Okay. Yeah, that's a hard phone call.
It was a hard phone call. My parents have always been very supportive of me, and they were very supportive and said, hey, if you can hit this number, let's do it. So we were able to do that plus a little bit. And 33 years old, I found myself out of a job and some money in my pocket. And didn't know what I was going to do.
So what's next? What happened next?
So I really wanted to make my life about serving others. And I decided
Going from, hey, I'm going to make as much money as I can, to something happens, and you want to start serving other people.
I mean, well, this is a span of students, and yet, so I mean, there's definitely an evolution here. Not really involved in my own church. I mean, I really had a lot of satisfaction in investing in global projects to help people around the world, which later into is the RedEye story. Extend that. So I went back to school, and I went back to school, and I got the master's of theology.
That was a big step.
Yeah, for fashion, marketing to rental theology, and so I didn't. After a long story, I decided that I was going to start a community in Tallahassee called Elementary Church.
But you went from California to Tallahassee.
And I came to Tallahassee, like I was looking all over it. I have a pretty global network, and people were like talking, and I ended up coming to Tallahassee because the Al Gore Bush election had just happened there at 2000. No, 2000. So this is 3 years after that. In Tallahassee, Florida, decided the future of the world, right? With the I looked at it, and Tallahassee at the time was one of the youngest cities in the nation and one of the most educated cities in the nation. And I thought, I don't know what I know this, but I thought, you know what? This is a little town that is at that time, I felt kind of dated and behind times and everything. And I think they're ready for a new expression of faith that I would talk about. And so I packed up my, well, I didn't pack up my wife. My wife came and we packed up our tents. And, we got on the 10 freeway in Santa Monica, California. And then 4 days later, we got off the 10 freeway in Tallahassee.
Wow. I wasn't expecting the story to take that turn there.
Most people, yeah. I know, you look at my CV and it doesn't seem like it's the same person.
Right. Well, that's some of the beauty of entrepreneurship is when somebody has that sphere about them, you never know the direction they're going to go. When they start to go in a direction, it really goes in that direction, right? And so, okay, so tell me more. You started this church, Calvary, Scully 3,
Calvary Church, and that was in 2003. And it was crazy. The first Sunday, we had 264 people show up, which blew me away. And the next Sunday, we had 500 people show up. And by the 6th week, we had 4 services. And we were having around 700 people show up every Sunday and get involved. It was just at that time, it was such a different expression of faith. There's nothing like it in Tallahassee. Now it's running the bill. It's contemporary. But it was very, very new. People were really, really connecting with the
church for people that typically not go to a church.
That's why.
Okay.
And it was a wild place.
Andy's family time.
No, they wait.
Okay. So, okay. Fast forward. How long did you do that? And then what was the next step?
So I thought I was done with business. What I found was starting a church is like starting a business too. I mean, you have all the same problems, right? You need to do stuff. You need to buy stuff and everything. One of the biggest problems that I was facing was there's no money to do that I really cared about, and it was tangibly caring for people, both locally and globally. So I was really struggling with trying to figure that out. Like, how can we drive money to basically invest in these humanitarian projects? And I met a local coffee roaster in 2004. So a few months after I did there, in 2004, he didn't know how to roast coffee, but he didn't know how to sell coffee. And didn't know how to roast coffee, but I didn't know how to sell stuff. And so I did a partnership with him. The partnership was I gave him $20. He gave me 5 pounds of coffee. I took that 5 pounds of coffee and put from a big bag into a small bag. And I started selling like Girl Scout soul cookies. And I sold that. And I told people 100% of this will go to local empowerment charities. So I did that.
Was this the birth of RedEye?
Yes, this is RedEye. It wasn't called RedEye then, but yeah, so I started doing that. I called RedEye my accidental company because I wasn't really looking to start a company. But the idea really caught on, and people started wanting to, like, they were buying and people were asking me for it. So I was like buying and selling it and bagging. And it wasn't even rated in that at that time. we got a contract with a local retailer, and they're like, we're like, talking, they're like, well, what's it called? Yeah. I'm like, what? At the time, so there wasn't a Starbucks or anything in Tallahassee at the time. I drink RedEye coffees. So RedEye coffee is basically a black coffee with a shot of espresso. That's a RedEye. And my little RedEye tree frogs, on it, on the whole, like, well, that's a good deal. Work. Like everything that brings you in entrepreneurs, like I do. I mean, it was just a COVID got me. I didn't know that I didn't work existed in a investment. But one thing they do teach though is just put yourself out there and do science. That's true. So this was your minimum viable product. The way that we talk about it, it caught it.
Well, what's the draw to the coffee then? Was it just really good roast, or was it the message
from the time? Only locally roasted coffee in Tallahassee at the time. But I think people just really like the idea. Like, I'm a storyteller. We were able to tell some really cool stories with what was happening. Not the hard thing with it, but just like it was exciting. I mean, it was just really fun, and lives for being changed globally. That was our slogan was very coffee locally, change lives globally. And people would always ask, what does that mean? Oh, thank you for asking. So it was just, there was a lot of dirt, but a lot of fun. A lot of people don't know this, but so I solely covered it now 5 years ago and everything. But I never took a salary for RedEye, gave all of it away. I never got a free cup of coffee except for like testing and stuff. But I never, as a customer, like wanted to go like pay for every single cup of coffee because I believe in the mission.
It's awesome. What were you guys doing? What were you doing globally? How were you helping impact?
It really transitioned over the years. I was really naive about the coffee business when I first started. And we were basically buying coffee, a lot of coffee from Guatemala, and I didn't really understand what TV share of humans that were happening. So we were buying the coffee and then selling the coffee. Then we were like investing, like we were partnering, building 12 homes for single mothers in Guatemala every year. Projects like that, simple projects that were easy to join story. And I decided I wanted to go visit one of the farms one day. So I went down to Guatemala and I was visiting farms and I was making coffee. One day, just to experience it, what it was like. And I happened to be picking coffee next to a little like 8-year-old girl. We're picking coffee and we're talking and like that. And I saw some kids going to school and I asked her, I said, why don't you go to school? She said, I can't go to school and I don't go to school because I have to work the fields. So I feel like little 8-year-old girl for this 220-pound guy. And I was like, I'm charging people $6-7 for a latte for literally the coffee that this little girl's picking. So I could send money back to Guatemala. And I'm like, this makes zero sense. So that was like a big aha moment in RedEye where I was like, we need to clean up our global supply chain or our supply chain and get all exploitation out of it.
Okay, so you were sending money back to help
the community, but the exact same community, farms here, houses there that were building.
Yeah, and little girls were having.
We were exploiting children.
To say the least,
no, it's in the turn around.
Right.
The most important, I think, is my worldview was again. I mean, I'm a learner, and everything, and then experience making learn something, and then there's a lot of exploitation in the global supply chain, over cell phones, with cobalt and fast fashion and all that kind of stuff. I'm not in charge of any of that, but I was in charge of buying coffee. And so I went back and talked with my leadership team, and I said, we're not going to do this anymore. We are going to ensure that we don't have any child exploitation, in or exploitative labor practices. So people making $1 a day to drink coffee and stuff are just like, I'm not going to participate. We're going to figure out how to do this, or we're going to shut the doors, because I will not participate in this corrupt system. We have our impact given went way down because our cost of goods sold went way up. But I think it gave me a platform in a way to talk about the global supply chain, because I experienced the first hand and shove that you could have an ethical supply chain and make a profit.
So, do you know whatever happened here? Until ideally the wages would have gone up, right? Or the parents' wages would have gone up, which is so.
So what happened was, we just, instead of buying from basically factory or farms, we started dealing directly with small farming co-ops, where we got involved with the lives of the families in this co-op, and we would do direct scholarships so their children could go to school and things like that, and else. And relationally, we weren't able to just partner with them. It was such an important part in the progression of my personal growth, because in a way, and I hate saying, I try to be transparent, because I'm not perfect, and I made a lot of mistakes, but I went from a project-based kind of mindset, like, we're going to need this money, we're going to need this project, and things like that. And yeah, it was because I cared about people and everything, but just like really projects, and I was able to make the shift from project to people, and really make and listen. What do these people want? What is best for them? And the reality is, none of us want to feel like projects, right? We want to be dealt with as people, and these people became my partners, and that understanding and me understanding what they want, and they understanding like their part in this bigger thing. It was really beautiful. I mean, it was harder and slow.
everything we're
Or it's in the States. The States are definitely made, and things like that. Ultimately, to stand by like the ultimately the right decision to make.
when you were running RedEye, and were you its lead pastor at
So I was lead pastor. Our church was over 1,000 people, and then separately there was RedEye, which was this kind of weird, like, it grew to 6 locations. I had 80 part-time college student baristas, which is a whole thing in itself. But and so yeah, it was busy times.
So, take us through the next step. Like, what happened with RedEye, or did you exit the church, or exit RedEye first?
I exited the church first.
And what did that look like? You found out is the church full?
No, I knew it was really burning, and was traveling a lot. I was getting involved in a lot of really interesting projects. Like we were helped fund a child trafficking documentary out of Benin, Africa, with the FSU Film School. And I was able to spend time in Western Africa, and I spent a lot of time in Haiti doing some different things and working with entrepreneurs in Haiti, and started investing a lot in little global companies and stuff like that. And I was finding that really fulfilling. And just to be transparent, like it was really hard, like coming back from like some really difficult places in the world, and then hear people talk about maybe some things that mattered to them, but they seem kind of trivial. And I didn't want to be one of those pastors that just kind of like held on and things like that. And I got to a point where I didn't think I was the right person to be the lead pastor anymore, just because my heart was somewhere else. And so I went to our we call it wise council, but elder board or whatever, and said, I think it's time. And we read a bunch of books and learned. Then it takes about 2 years to transition out. But we did make the commitment. We found somebody, and we slowly transferred power over to the new person, and I slowly ended.
And then so now you have all your time you could devote. Yeah.
And around the same time, FSU wanted me to come and start helping them develop social entrepreneurship ecosystem at FSU. So,
What you around here with that?
2014. So I started doing that in the College of Social Science, and that was fun and interesting. And in 2016, we got the $100 million gift. We as an FSU, not me. And
You know what, right?
I do a $100 million gift and decided to start.
And that's the Jim Marine to your end.
Yeah, that's from the Jim Maria Foundation. Dean Fiorina wanted social entrepreneurship to be the College of Entrepreneurship. So she brought me over, and we developed an undergrad, a minor, and a graduate degree in social and sustainable enterprises.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I came on in 2017, so the right after that started the year. I think that's when we then really kept on. So you still got RedEye in this time, right?
Yeah, I sold RedEye I think in 2019, but right before COVID. I sold it to my COO, and she did a fantastic job. And then she recently sold it to a empowering community that people with special needs, autism and other special needs. And RedEye is now workforce development for that community.
Man, that's fantastic. Think about the relationship that you made with the guy that knew how to roast, that you knew how to sell, and you could go back and tell yourself then all the lives that RedEye would touch. It would be hard to imagine that, right?
No, I done leap, and RedEye was my accidental company. I just did.
That's all.
Yeah, and I really thought I was done with business, and I guess I wasn't.
All right. So you sell RedEye, and then did your COO continue the same mission with fair trade and such?
Yeah. Yeah, so she didn't change, and then you have the harm. How was it expressed was a little bit different. She had more of a heart for Tallahassee. It went all kind of local empowerment charities and things like that. Was great, years later, But I feel like the heart and soul of it was exact same, and even though
your red eyes?
Doing, expressing it in a different way now. I still don't, I'm thinking it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. I mean, it's caring for the least of these and our people, which is super cool. I feel like for like, what do you think about RedEye? And I'm like, I love it. I'm the biggest of it, and they're like, what? I'm like, I think it's great. I mean, whatever asked me, like, but what do you think about them doing this? I think that's their decision to make.
That's a great outlook one, man. I'm so impressed. Okay, so you're in now full time at Florida State as an instructor.
Yeah. So I've been full time for 6 years. My role has definitely changed. The director of social and sustainable enterprises of running the grad program and working with people online and things like that. I'm also going to use a lot of my time as I'm the host of that Innovation Mindset podcast, where we interview emerging entrepreneurs and alumni entrepreneurs. So that's a weekly podcast that we put out, and that's got a lot of traction and a lot of attention and things like that.
That's fantastic. Oh, what students here at the Panama City campus, we have the commercial entrepreneurship program, right? That's the only one, and they take a social entrepreneurship class along the way. Mentoring, right? With you, right? So they're still getting some of the RBVs, but the students that might not have you in the class, they still want to have that want to have a business one day, that will hear this podcast, right? What message would you want to tell those that are going out into the world of entrepreneurship about the social issues that they could improve or do something about with the platform that they have?
I mean, that's what we're learning with RedEye is the power of the purchase. And then naively, I thought the most good that we could do with RedEye was the money, the profits, how we invested the profits, which $100,000 here, $100,000 there, which is great. But RedEye was buying over $1 million plus of stuff a year. And after that little girl in the fields taught me the biggest lesson of my life, I realized, wow, I'm spending over $1 million a year, and I could choose who I want to spend that money with. And it totally revolutionized the way that I thought about that money. It went from, oh, I'm just buying the stuff I need to run the business to, oh, wait, there's this local bakery run by a single mother that I can go talk to her and give her this whole new revenue stream and empower her, and she's going to be excited and do a great job for us and do special stuff. And so I started really thinking like, okay, everything that we have to buy, we can actually help elevate somebody, not charity, but partnerly them. And what I realized those partnerships were so powerful, and being able to weave our values into our whole supply chain.
By intentionality of making some of those decisions, maybe not based on, some of the standard operating procedure where, hey, we're going to give it to the cheapest bidder or whatever.
That's the beginning, but it like, oh, I can buy bagels from Costco, but whatever. I do. What is fine? Costco's a great company and everything, but Costco is not going to miss if we stop buying bagels from them, right? But if we start buying bagels from mother trying to start her bakery business, well, that is going to have huge impact and also be able to have delivery impact with her family, her community, and her story. So it really changed the way I thought about just purchasing and purchasing for image.
You done a great job of contributing a lot into segments where we could follow your story. Take us from I guess when you started as a professor at FSU to today. And do you have any other ventures going that you'd like to talk about?
And so I think microplastics is the biggest threat to humanity in our planet that we're not talking about. So that's my new focus.
I am very learn about that.
So if you don't know, over the past 50 years, when single-use plastic was introduced into the American population, testosterone levels in males has gone down 1% every single year for the past 50 years. So the average male, 20 years old, has 50% of the testosterone that a male had in 50 years ago in the 70s. Although miscarriages have gone up 1% over the past 50 years, we are actually seeing biological changes in humans today versus humans 50 years ago. Also, there's a lot of other factors and things like that, but we've seen a rapid increase in anxiety, depression, autism. We're basically raising our children in a toxic suit. And again, then there's a lot of factors, there's a lot of studies, but microplastics are, at least I believe, a key contributor to this.
Give us the layman's explanation of this, so just so we can go kind of have an
So essentially every time that we take or recycling something, well, 96% of that doesn't get recycled. Also, every piece of plastic that has never been made is still in existence on the planet in some form. And single-use plastic, which is super convenient, easy to bring, lots of good stuff about it. Nobody ever thought about, like, okay, once this gets into our food chain, into our air, each and every one of us, so this is fact, ingests the printed carbon with the plastic every single week. Microplastics can they just, the study was just released. They did autopsies on 50 women. All 50 women's uteruses had microplastics in it, in the uterus. That microplastics can cross the brain-blood barrier. It is something that is killing us. It's petroleum in our system, and the the more I learn about the negative impacts of microplastics, the more I want to find alternatives to microplastics or to plastic.
What are if you were going to leave this group with three things, what 3 things could they do to minimize the impact of microplastics on their own?
Number one, try and minimize single-use plastic, which is nearly impossible. This is where is I'm of it. It's still just about impossible to do it, but going to reusable cups and things like that. One thing that a lot of people, the most microplastic that you'll ingest in a day is in your water bottles, because water bottles, when they're transferred, they heat up and the plastic goes into the water. There's more microplastics in plastic bottled water than just about anything else. But it's almost impossible to get away from it. There has to be a whole already. There needs to be no relatable one being in there. I mean, I don't want any picture of that. Anybody, just not the guilt anybody. It's just it's a reality that this is just the reality of what we live in. there's different ways to minimize single-use plastic use. Like some things that I don't eat yogurt in a single serve anymore. I'll buy a big yogurt thing and I transfer it into reusable plastic containers and stuff like that. It's not perfect, but at least it's a way to do it. President Hamster Guatemala, the 12 billion K-cups from Keurig go into landfill every single year. We get that. But 12 million K-cups go to landfills every single year. Those are virtually, they cannot be recycled because of contamination. Each K-cup represents 1.05 million pieces of microplastic. Also, by heating up water through those K-cups, you're getting a ton of microplastic right in your cup of coffee. So me and my partners have come up with a single-use coffee machine that uses zero single-use plastic. We've been developing that for several years and are trying to do it organically. It's a rubber singing pigeon. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So even when I'm done,
That's fantastic. So I do want to leave some time for questions because was there anything else you wanted to say about the journey role story in FSU? Any other business ventures that you want to bring up?
no, I mean, I've had lots, and not more. I think that's important to say that.
That's what we know about plants, right?
Yeah, half an hour. I mean, we always talk about like the successes, but there's 3 times as many like learning opportunities than there were successes. So, like, I've experienced my fair share of failure, and a lot of failure along the way. A lot of gut checking. I remember getting on my knees with my wife one night because we thought we were going to lose the house. We were so over leveraged. There was huge problems. I've had so many sleepless nights and things like that. So I know it's hard, but you just keep on getting up and everything.
We were just talking about that in class today, and I have lost my house. I know what that's like. I know it's not, but you don't quit.
Well, one of the greatest success stories, he doesn't work with us anymore, but John Brady is very open about this. He's one of the most successful people I know. And him and his wife lost everything. They lost their houses, lost their boats. A lot they were doing great. And then got overextended. They market changed and they lost everything. And they regrouped and now they're pivoted. I remember that. They're
That is all. Then the key is you don't quit. You don't not give up. And you get it. Pivoting's great, but you don't give up.
Yeah, exactly. Like to me, like boats and houses are really nice to have and everything, but that's not success. Like that's a really nice blessing to have. But my kids calling me up and want to take me to dinner, that's success.
Yeah.
My wife texting me thinking of you after 32 years, that's success.
Yeah.
Either fortunately early and along that, yeah, of course. I mean, they didn't, I tell myself, think I'm not, whatever, but like, I'm thrown into money. Like, don't get me wrong, I love them. Money's fun. But if that money at the end of the day is basically a tool and that tool can be used for bad or be not used at all wisely, or you can use it wisely to bless others, at least for me,
Well, the only thing is, it's obvious from you sharing how you did that the way you have used money and blessing others, you're coming in here with a smile on your face, and I could tell you're blessed.
Yeah, I feel very, very fortunate. A little life could have been very, very different as I kept the business. Because I didn't like it on the outside. When you looked at my life when I was, in my mid-20s, I lived at the beach. I had a beautiful sport fisher in the marina half a mile away. I, have this beautiful car, but my wife, I was just a provider to my wife. She wanted more, but that's all I had from her. So to me, I was an utter failure. Even though everybody's like, they just have people go like, I want your life. And I'd be like, and everything. So fortunately, I was able to listen to some sacred echoes and make some pivots to help. And I'm still learning. I'm still chipping. I'm sowing relational mistakes. So, and, and and just, learning to forgive myself and forgive others and try to keep the main thing the main thing.
Well, I appreciate you just being so candid and transparent with us and shared your story with us. I would like to take a few minutes, if you don't mind. We have some students want to ask some questions up here. Absolutely. All right. So, bring your all from.
Okay, I want to start off by saying thank you for still coming to talk to us even after the week you had probably. It really shows, as an entrepreneur, as a student, to see you show up even after tragedy. So we really appreciate it. So I want to say that. And then I did not realize that you kind of ran RedEye as like a non-profit for like it was more like a mission than it was a business.
Who's 100% for raw? It was a mission for me. It was run as a business. But I chose to use the profits that would normally go to me to invest in causes and people that I thought were making a difference.
Yeah, for my business, I partner with a lot of local companies that have a story. And so I really relate to you in how you said that your business told the story of the partners that you worked with. How did you market yourself from different like coffee companies in Tallahassee while telling your story and telling the story of others? Like, what did you do as you started to expand? I know there were a lot of Girl Scouting but like, what did you do after you couldn't? Like, have time to be a Girl Scout? Like, how did you market?
I'll always be a Girl Scout. I was living a story that I was excited about. And when you're excited about stuff, you talk about it. So I don't think it ever, like I thought of different ways to tell the story, but I wanted to tell the story. To me, telling the story was it was less about like the coffee and just about like how we're partnering with our customers to do all of these great things. I used to tell my baristas all the time that uh, we don't sell coffee. We don't serve coffee at RedEye. And they're like, what do you mean we don't serve coffee at RedEye? And I'm like, really, serve people. If this ever becomes about serving coffee, then we're lost. It has nothing to do with coffee. Why? What do you mean it has nothing to do with coffee? No, it has everything to do with people. It has everything to do with people picking it, to the people transporting it, to the people making it, to the people who are drinking it, and then the people who are taking those profits and investing into them. It was all about that. We did so one thing. Probably one of the funnest ones, and it was probably the most, one that got me in the most trouble with my competitors was I was letting hashtags were starting to come in. And I created this hashtag, asked your barista. And I tried to start this movement in Tallahassee. When you go out, ask your barista where the coffee came. How was it? How was it formed? Who did? And I got so much hate from people for that. Why?
It's a lot more wedding.
You were what are we coffee?
I was hear competitors.
Yeah. Well, what did my customers then ask? Like, I'm going to go into that. I know. Yeah. Well, I wanted to challenge my customers to ask my baristas, but I know they're cheating on me and going to Starbucks and stuff. I wanted them to go, hey, who picked this coffee? How was it sourced? And things like that. And it was smelled and prideful because I liked our story.
But it also might change theirs.
That's what I wanted to do. RedEye was always, to me, about challenging business to do better, other businesses to do better, not just coffee businesses. I was invited to be on the chamber, the board of the Chamber of Commerce, and I was there for 3 years. Imagine me on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. They loved me. I generals it all the time. They were like, well, we can't do this or we can't do that. I'm like, no, you're choosing not to do that.
Yeah. We won't have time for everyone to ask the question today, but those that do have questions, if I could just see a show of hands so I'll have an idea. Okay. All right, we'll make sure that you guys get the mics, okay?
Or were you really violent?
Yeah, so my dissertation was on the impact of the Great Commission and the Great Commandment, and through that journey, I think it really boiled down to two things that kept in my head was just love God and love people, and doing things to show love and and the grace that I had been shown. So I try to do that in a very intangible way. I never preach. I did a preach one as a pastor. But I never like did my customers like they didn't even know like my or anything. I was asking to be. You could be. I wanted everybody to buy our coffee because of the story, and I felt like we could all partner together to do something bigger. And I always was very careful in the people we partnered with that it was stuff that everybody, all decent people, would be proud to support.
Next question, please.
That has networking that like come that full year and just like work.
So I'm an introvert, actually. I'm very like if you give. So when I go to a party, I want a job to. Like I'm the worst when it comes. Like if you just throw me in a social situation, it was hard work because my mind's constantly going like, hey, let's get together, let's do something great and everything, and so I'm not a great networker. It's a learned thing. One thing that I learned about myself is when I'm going to networking events or something, if I get a job, that's great. Like that's when I thrive. Like talking to people, serving people, things like that. And like conversation naturally. Like it's funny. I feel like the two times that I brought, like I look my best with one or two other people drinking coffee around in front of 5,000 people. I'm just mucking it or schmucking it up or whatever. But like if we just all walked in here and we're like, hey, let's chat, like be my nervous turtle, be like, Dan, where's the extrovert? When them talk, all this trying to connect myself to them and live through their strengths.
That's awesome. That's all. We had another question.
Ethical sourcing, what are some